Hi there. Sorry this is a couple days late. I haven't slept for 2 days. I spent 14 hours writing a paper yesterday because the teacher invented her own form. It was. mm. Anyway, the name topic. Um, when I first started my transition, I did my transition a little bit differently in that I wanted to be sure of myself before I identified fully as FTM, so I stayed with genderqueer until I was very sure. The first name I chose was Stevie. I'm adopted, and my birth father's name was Steven, so that worked out. When I actually came out, I came up with the name London because I identified as genderqueer, and I didn't want a name that sounded either male or female. I wanted to be sure before I picked something. Um, when I was that name, my full name at that point was London Argos Stephen Taylor, Stephen from Stevie. Argos was my puppy name as given to me by my uh, girlfriend at the time. Taylor was the last name of her mom, and we were getting married, so we were going to take that. After we, right, be, I kept London for a while, and then I had problems with the fact that I felt that name was not allowing people to see me as male. It actually took me a while to finally come out as identifying as FTM, and my fiance did help me with that. It wasn't, anyway, so it wasn't for good reasons, but when I started feeling that my name was not male enough to get to have people treat me as male, I decided that I needed another one. So the final name I ended up with is Jack. That name I took for a lot of reasons. I took Jack because I'd always liked it. Not always like my whole life, but liked it in that I thought it didn't sound inconspicuous. It's a name where you don't read it and you don't think anything of it. The next part was hard. I liked London and I wanted to keep it because other people had already used it and I wanted to make the change to the new name easy for them. But Jack London is an author and I'm not in any way, I'm completely neutral about him. I haven't read his stuff. So I didn't want people to ask me that all the time because I didn't want to draw unnecessary attention to myself. And finally I came to the conclusion this is the name I wanted and I'm okay with explaining that to people. Because when people ask me, oh, do you like Jack London? If they ask me that, I'll just say no. My last name I went through a couple for a while. I wasn't sure what I was going to pick. I knew from the start I did not want to keep my father's last name. He and I are not so happy with each other, especially right now. So I asked my mother if she would want me to take her maiden name, which was Sampson, or her married last name, which made no sense because it was her first husband, so that. And then I was talking to her, and the only part of my name that my mom directly decided was my original first name. And she really liked it. And it's not my favorite, but I decided that I wanted to respect my mother because she's been very supportive of my transition. It's been hard for her, but she's been amazing. So I decided that I wanted to respect her by keeping that. My name change will be finalized as of March 5th, gender marker 2. Part of why I chose Jack was also because Tim Burton, Jack Skellington. Catherine and I, my ex, we were going to have a Tim Burton wedding. When I proposed to her, I knew she liked Night Before Christmas, so I wore a hoodie with skeleton bones on it, and I sang her the song from Night Before Christmas, Cliff, Ring, whatever. And I wanted to pick I didn't pick a name because I wanted the name. My thing of how I decided what name was mine, because it took me a while to recognize it as my name. I would not pick a name unless I could picture my partner calling me that name and instantly recognize it as me. I couldn't pick a name that... There are a lot of really names that sounded really cool. I wanted Evander for a while. Not an attention-seeking name at all. But then I wanted to have that as part of my full name for a while, so it was 4 names, and my mom luckily argued me out of that and pointed out that that was silly. So the Tim Burton thing, I picked Jack, and when I pictured my fiance at the time calling me that, I knew it was me. So that's how I picked it. And then we broke up, but that doesn't make it any less me. So I kept it. In thoughts on names in general. There's some interesting names in the FTM community, which isn't to say that having a unique name is bad at all. But the thing for me is that if you're very concerned about passing and not drawing unnecessary attention to yourself, then you need to be aware of how your name is going to appear to other people. Like, if you pick your name spelled 7-3 heart triangle W, and it's pronounced Ben, I know we've all seen things like this, then you're going to draw attention to yourself. And that might be what you want, and that's cool. But be prepared for it. If you don't want, it might affect how well you pass in the sense that you might get questions. And if you're okay with that, then that's awesome. And that's cool. Be yourself. Basically, that's it. Don't pick a name that you know will draw attention if you don't want attention. Because then it's like, my name is Spaceship, and I don't want people to ask me why my name is not a normal name. And if you don't want that, then don't pick the name Spaceship. Let's see. What else? I know a lot of guys choose names that are longer or spelled interestingly or otherwise unique. And that's awesome for them, but I just wanted a simple name for myself. The other thing, the reason why I changed my name from London was because I went from identifying as genderqueer to identifying strictly as male. And I needed my name to reflect that. And London's an awesome name. It's my middle name now, but the name in itself is not male. So, not definitively anyway. So, I wanted a name where people would recognize it as me. I'm as a male. Last thought was that a lot of guys see that, at least in the media, we're presented with people trans men who have chosen names with the same first letter as their birth name. And I had a uniquely spelled name, and it was mispronounced my entire life. So I didn't want that name. That name has always annoyed me. I like that name, but it's always annoyed me as having to consistently explain it to people that my name was Katie, but it was spelled Cady. If you say like in Mean Girls, I will hit you because I was born 13 years before that. Just kidding. Not about the age thing. Anyway, because I could have taken Katie and made it into Kaden or Cody, which people mispronounce my entire life. But I'd spent my whole life telling people, no, I'm not Cody. So why would I want a name that I'd spent so long having to explain was not me? Sometimes picking a name that does have the same letter as your first name does make it easier for others to get used to it, though. Like L-word Moira became Max. It's a personal preference. So, sorry this is so long. I guess the end is pick the name that you want for yourself and fuck what anyone else thinks. However, be prepared for what your name might present to other people. Unfortunately, not everyone is understanding. That's just how the world is right now. But be smart and use your understanding of how the world works to protect yourself and to become who you need to be and who you've been all along. I guess that's all I have. See you guys.